5, 4, 3. Hey everybody, this is Troy Alexander. We are back one more time on Hamilton Radio, Inspiration with Troy Alexander. I'm so excited. Tonight we have an amazing guest, and we're going to introduce her in just one moment. But listen, you know our motto, dream, take that step, walk with purpose into your destiny. This is all about encouraging you to follow your dreams, to believe in your dreams, to know that it is not over, that whatever, you can do this. I'm telling you, we are here to encourage you, to uplift you, and to let you know you are not by yourself. Listen, I was at a place where I didn't know how, but I'm at a better place now, and so will you. I'm telling you, it's about a persistence. It's about a commitment to yourself, a commitment to your dreams, to your purpose, to your destiny. And I'm telling you, guess what? And you don't have to do it by yourself. There's somebody else out there that's willing to help you and to support you and encourage you. And I'm one of them. I'm going to lift my hands right now and tell you, I'm one of them. So be encouraged. Today, listen, I'm going to do a quick point of purpose, and I do this on Facebook, and I share it to encourage you weekly. But one point of purpose I put on, do not limit yourself when there is so much more for you. Do not put a limit on your destiny, on your purpose, on who you are. You got to realize that there is so much more inside of you that wants to get out. And it's about believing in yourself and trusting that, listen, if I fall, do what? Just get back up again. If I fall, just get back. And you keep learning about the process. You keep learning. And I'm telling you right now, it's possible. So I'm encouraging you today. Hold on to your dreams. And I got one more thing before I introduce our amazing guest on this evening. Point of purpose, I shared this on Facebook. What are you waiting for? You already have a dream. So if you already got the dream, what are you waiting for? It is time now to take that step into something greater, into something bigger, to something better, your destiny. So I'm excited today. Listen, we're getting ready to introduce our amazing guest. I'm so excited and honored that she is with us, Mrs. LaJuan Carter. She is a singer, songwriter, vocal coach, background vocals for artists including Stevie Wonder, Celine Dion, Neo, Patti LaBelle, Marvin Sapp, The Winans, Henry Connick Jr., Layla Hathaway, and so many more. A songwriter, I'm telling you, for the young and the restless, and the guiding light, and so much more. Thank you so much, Ms. LaJuan, for being with us on this evening.
Thank you, Troy. It's great being with you guys.
Listen, I got to ask you, how did your journey take you to a point where you become backup vocals and a vocal coach, but just getting to that place where you can like travel and be with these amazing artists? What was the turning point in your life that said to you that you could do that?
I had a very unconventional start to my career. It actually was not something that I went out and chose. My grandmother is somewhat of a civil rights pioneer. She started the first modeling agency for people of color in the United States, and her name was Ophelia DeVore.
Wonderful.
And she used to have these amazing fashion shows at some of the most iconic hotels in New York.
Wow.
And at the time, I was a young girl. Believe it or not, she would need filler in between the models changing their costumes, and my grandmother was not a force to be argued with. And so she would tell me, go out and sing a song, just keep the audience entertained while the models are changing clothes. Right. And literally at age 12, 13, that's how I got started, just by my grandmother shooing me onto a stage and telling me to sing a song while her models changed.
Wow.
From that point, I met incredible musicians, either the piano player who was at the show at the time, and then that piano player would say, hey, are you available to do this recording session? And I'd go do that. Then I'd meet a drummer there who'd say, hey, can you go do this tour? Wow. And literally it was just a domino effect. I'm not one of those people who sort of was bored singing and came out the womb knowing my passion or knowing my purpose. I sort of fell into it, but it was such an amazing fun way to live and experience art and meet incredible talent that I just kept doing it. Even after college, I went to college for something completely different, for journalism.
Yes.
But I was having such a great time as a singer. I just stuck with it.
Wow.
And That's how it got done.
Now, what age were you when your grandmother, when you had all those experiences?
I was probably about 13 years old. My grandmother, aside from her modeling agency, she had what was called a charm school or a finishing school back in the 50s, 60s, all the way up until the 2000s, quite frankly.
Wow.
And she had the most incredible talent walking through her door that she would train. Cicely Tyson, Diane Carroll, Richard Roundtree, and then even later on, people like Faith Evans were some of her students. So I was just part of that environment, just being a family member. My father and my mother were an integral part of the business. So I was always up in there just hanging out and, being nosy and playing around with makeup or whatever it was, I had the opportunity just to sort of stick my fingers in. And so she, at that point, I think she also saw that I had some kind of natural ability. I always had a pretty good ear for harmony, and I was a pretty good student. So if you taught me something, I could learn it pretty quickly. So she actually did end up introducing me to a couple of very famous producers at the time. One was a gentleman by the name of Clyde Otis, who had produced some great acts of the 50s and 60s. And he worked live performance experience. So about 13 years old.
Now, let me make sure that I'm clear that I'm hearing this right, Ms. Carter. Now, you're telling now. So, did you go to vocal school, or take classes for voice training? It sounds like you just sort of like at 13 took a step based upon your grandmother had these connections, and they said, "Come on, we'll work with you," and there you go.
Well, I eventually did, because my grandmother and my parents were all strong believers in not just going out there and getting experience, but getting training as well. That was the premise of her entire business, that go out there, be prepared, be polished, be ready for the world, and don't give them any reason not to take you on whatever your career path may be.
Amazing.
So once I started really stepping into it with a little more consistency, I studied with some great vocal coaches. There was Thurman Bailey, who was Luther Vandross's coach, who I studied with. Joyce Brown was this amazing Broadway theatrical coach that I worked with. Another coach at the time in New York who was pretty popular with more cabaret artists. His name was David Collier. So I definitely, once I said, okay, I'm going to do this, or at least pursue it somewhat seriously, then I did. I was encouraged and supported by my family to, let's take the steps. Let's get headshots. Let's go have lessons or whatever. Take piano lessons, anything that just would make me a stronger artist.
Amazing. Do you remember your first experience, like being out as a background vocal for like a major artist?
My first one.
Or the one that you remember the most?
Well, I remember some great ones.
Yes.
I've been lucky enough to be a part of Ray Chu's vocal camp, music camp. Some of your listeners may know him. He is the musical director for Dancing with the Stars. He was the musical director for Ashford and Simpson, Showtime at the Apollo. And he has a nice pool of musicians and singers that he pulls from. And I was sort of lucky enough to be in his, corral and get called, to do different jobs. And that's sort of how I got to work with so many people. I will say, I think as a singer-songwriter, it's hard to beat backing up Stevie Wonder. I only did it one time, and one is plenty enough for me to be able to check that box.
Wow.
Just to be in his presence.
Yes.
So many singer-songwriters of my generation, that's, what we cut our teeth on, was listening to every Stevie Wonder album, listening to every lyric, listen to all of his production elements. And I just remember sort of being breathless, in his presence. Just happy to be, I don't even know if I sang in tune. Who knows? It was just glorious to be with him.
Oh, wonderful. We are so honored to have you. I mean, really, to hear your journey and your experience, and just doing so much. I mean, now you're a vocal coach, and you're coaching other people into just their gifts. When did you know that this is what you not only what you wanted to do, but what you could do? Because so many people that I've had on my show, like I asked him, like when was the moment that you knew like you could sing? Like, you know what I mean? Because I would think that it takes a lot of confidence, and I want to hear from your perspective. But I would think that one of the characteristics is having confidence. Like when did you know? Like I could walk in a room, and for any artist, pretty much like do what they want me to do. It's just really if they want me or not. But when did you know that confidence, like you were good enough to be in the room?
You know, that's an interesting question. And it's actually something that I talk to the students I work with now as far as vocal coaching. So much of singing really is confidence.
Wow.
And I remember, you know, when I was younger, and again, I was lucky enough to just sort of have a natural ability to just be in tune, you know, and to harmonize and work within a group and sort of put out what someone asked me to do.
Right.
But I don't know if I even believed in my talent until years later. And I had such a great network of people around me between my grandmother and my parents and just these wonderful musicians I worked with who never told me to shut up. So I guess that was okay. You know, they didn't say, please leave now.
Right.
But I think part of the confidence, you know, getting that confidence just comes with doing it.
Wow.
But it's a huge part. And I tell my students all the time that, you know, I remember when I was younger, just thinking about what singing meant and, you know, being able to sing perfectly in tune and breathe properly and just all the technical things that supposedly made a good singer.
Right.
And if you didn't quite live up to that, were you really a good singer? Who knows? Could you really double yourself in the studio flawlessly?
Right.
Then maybe you weren't. And the older I got, the more I realized that probably just authenticity and confidence is as much a part of being a strong singer as pure technical talent. And if you can tell a story convincingly and move somebody emotionally, honestly, you know, art is like anything. It's very subjective.
Yes.
And what one person likes, another person doesn't like. So you know what? Just go about being the best you. Don't try and be a replica of someone else.
Right.
Have the confidence that you're here to tell a story through music. And just do whatever you can do. Keep going out. Do open mics. Do sessions. Do them for free. Do them for $5.
Yes.
The confidence, you know, just being out there.
Awesome. I want to continue with that because you talked about having the emotion part of it. And I'm always talking when I have actors on our show, I'm asking them, how do you get into the moment? Now, I know that you're a songwriter as well. So how do you draw from your own personal experiences when you write? Or what is your core in terms of how you write? Like, is it from your experience? Are you seeing other people's experience? How do you write so people can feel what you're trying to relay?
This may have something to do with sort of the journalist in me and studying journalism, but I tend to be very story-driven or project-driven. Sometimes I do pull on personal experiences, but I have found that the way that I write is usually I'm trying to tell a story of some sort. I really admire and quite sometimes envy songwriters who just wake up in the middle of the night and they're inspired by something. That's just not the way it happens for me.
Yes.
You know, usually someone says, hey, I need a song about basketball. And I'm like, yes, all right. And then I start thinking about all the elements of basketball. And then I start, you know, creating a story based on those specifics. That's just how my brain works. Every once in a while I get lucky, though, when something just pours out of me. And that's a really good feeling when it does happen.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, I want to say, listen, so many of us and so many of those who watch our show and call, like, just you see the star, you see the show, you see the glitz, you see the glam. I want to ask because our show is about the journey. It's about sharing the journey so people really understand what it takes to get to where you are. And I mean, I'm talking about background vocals again, Celine Dion, Neo, Stevie Wonder. I mean, a whole gamut. And so I want to ask you, like, what was one of your biggest challenges in this industry that you had to face, and how did you have to deal with that? Because again, some people say, well, but it's not just you walk in a room and here you go and now you're on tour. Like what was one or two of your biggest challenges that you had to face growing in this journey?
Well, I think all artists have to learn with rejection, have to learn how to deal with rejection. There's no way you're not going to get hit with it. There's just no way. And it's how you deal with it. Do you dust yourself out, you dust yourself off and get back up and keep pursuing it? Or do you get defeated by it? I've had a couple of really interesting, knockdown punches, and they were all incredible learning lessons for me.
Okay.
I wouldn't have had it any other way. One of them was back before The Voice and American Idol and those shows. There was a show called Star Search,
yes,
which was hosted by Ed McMahon.
I remember Star Search.
Yeah. Season of Star Search, I got selected to go. They flew me out to LA, and I was in my second year of college. I hadn't even started my sophomore year, and I was so, I guess maybe convinced, even if I didn't verbalize it, maybe in my head, that I was going to be out there a while because, of course, I'm going to keep winning.
Right.
And so I didn't even register for the next semester of school.
Wow.
Well, needless to say, I flew out to LA and all the, all that went into it. It was a massive production.
Wow.
Hair, makeup, wardrobe, the big orchestra, everything was behind it. It was a really fascinating experience. And I remember walking out on stage, and as I walk out on stage and they're introducing me, my shoe comes off my foot.
Oh my goodness.
And I'm sitting there wiggling my foot, trying to get my foot back in the shoe. Foot dropped into my shoe.
Wow.
And I went on to sing my song, and I lost immediately.
Oh, wow.
I was beat down. But the funny thing was, and I remember coming off stage and just bawling my eyes out, not out of sadness of losing. It was just an overwhelming experience, all the attention and expectations. So sort of going away from that and having to, tuck my tail between my legs and go back and register for school.
Oh my goodness.
So it was a real, moment of awakening for me, wake up call, I should say. And, but it also told me, in those moments, I should have had the confidence to say, hey, can we stop a second? I'm sorry, my shoe fell off, but I was green and I was young and I didn't want to disappoint anybody. And so even in that moment, I said, I will never let that happen again where there's a wardrobe malfunction.
Wow.
And I don't have the confidence to say, take two,
Right.
So,
exactly.
Yeah. So that was a big learning lesson for me. And then I've had, like many other artists, I've had record deals, lost record deals, come close to getting another record deal, getting, the doors slammed in my face. And you just have to sort of figure out, what are you here for? What's your bigger purpose? And if you love it enough and it brings you enough joy and rewards, either sometimes financially, spiritually, however it manifests itself for you, you'll keep going. You'll keep going.
Awesome. Well, thank you. So listen, everybody, we are talking to LaJuan Carter. She is an amazing vocalist, vocal coach, background vocals for many artists, songwriter. Again, I Stevie Wonder, Neo, Celine Dion, Harry Connick Jr. She's a songwriter for various soap operas. I'm telling you, just amazing. Thank you so much again for being with us on our show, Inspiration with Troy Alexander. I want to ask you, did you ever I've seen a lot of background vocals want to kind of take the lead and go off on their own, and have their own. Is that something that you ever wanted to do or still do at this time?
No. I mean, I think I love background singing for what it is.
Right.
And it's a very specific skill set, one, to sort of understand your place on the stage. There was actually this great documentary that came out a few years ago with some of my best buddies in this industry called 20 Feet from Stardom. And it talked about those people, those those. And how they were so close and had all the talent to be that front singer. Yes. But for whatever reason, their own personal reasons, they stood in the back. You know, I do both. I have more on the front singer of a particular event or show. But if I'm hired to be a background singer, there's something so special about that, being able to blend with other singers and find nuance in the song, you know. And I think if you raise your hand for that job in that moment, you got to respect that position, you know. And it's not even about ego. It's about you're creating music, you know, and what does the music call for? Well, if there's one lead singer, someone in the back shouldn't be hollering on top of that lead singer, you know. This is your job. This is your role, just like a guitar player or a drummer, any other musician in the room. That's right. So I don't really have that. I love vocal arranging so much. Awesome. And I think the more I do this, the more I just appreciate what background vocals brings to a song or production.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, I want to ask you because, again, sometimes people don't realize what it costs. And I want to ask you, what did it cost you? What was the sacrifices that you had to make to reach the plateau that you have reached?
That's a good question. I don't think I've ever been asked that before. Well, I'm the very blessed mother of 3 children and wife of a wonderful husband for 29 years. Wonderful. And so maybe on some level I didn't get called for certain gigs, you know, maybe the 2 or 3 year tours that other singers got who didn't have the responsibilities back at home or, you know, whatever. They just made those choices. But I don't look at it as a cost. I just think I chose the path that I chose, and I sleep well at night. You know, so sometimes I wish I had a yacht and, you know, floating around. But that's okay too, you know, because I know there is a cost for everything, and so if you have regrets, you have to sort of say to yourself, well, what's the flip side of if I'd gotten all those things, and do I really want the flip side of that? Right, so I have 3 beautiful, healthy children and a wonderful husband and great family around me, so I'm good.
Wonderful. Well, I am sure they are very proud of you, as we are as well. So thank you so much. I wanted to ask because, again, there's so much that I'm sure goes into what you do. Like tell me, what has been the longest tour that you've been on?
So funny enough, I did for about was it 3 or 4 years. I was part of the Men of Soul tour, which the headline acts were Jeffrey Osborne, Peebo Bryson. Wow. Oh, good Lord, I can't believe. Oh my gosh. Hello, the one person I sang with. Oh. My God, rock me tonight for old time's sake.
There you go, y'all. You're hearing the voice.
Thank you. Oh my gosh, this is mortifying right now.
It's okay.
Anyway,
it's
so
okay. It'll come to you. It'll come to you.
Take a pause and redeem myself.
Yeah.
Freddie Jackson. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
So yeah, and believe it or not, I sang more with Freddie than anybody. So
wow.
That's old age. That's what happens.
Oh my God. No.
So yeah, and Howard Hewitt. So those 4 gentlemen did a fantastic tour. They looped the States many times, and we did some shows in the Caribbean, and it was really incredible because. Wow. These guys are, you know, they're rock steady, and they've been around a minute, and they would go out every night and kill it. Wow. And to sort of just see just that kind of stamina. Yes. You know, they grew up in a time where, you know, you played a 2-hour concert and didn't take a glass of water. You know, you just rocked it out.
Wow.
And I think, you know, today sometimes a lot of new artists haven't built up that kind of tenacity and, really just stamina to do those kind of shows because there's so much digital help that you get, you know, production help that you get in studio and even on stage. These guys are just unbelievable. They were unbelievable. So
wow, awesome and amazing, wonderful. I want to ask about your rehearsals. I want to ask, like, before you go to perform with an artist or even just yourself, so people understand. Are we talking like days of rehearsal, weeks, months, year? Like, what is the rehearsal process? Like, if you're going to do a show, what is that process like?
Yeah, it really depends on the performance. So, back about 4 months ago, I guess back in September of 19, with Ray Chu, we did this performance at NJ Pack honoring Ray Charles.
Yes,
and so we backed up a lot of artists. We backed up Yolanda Adams. There are a couple of Broadway stars, and so it was with a full. It was not a full orchestra, but it was maybe a 15-piece orchestra, beautiful horn section, and it was exquisite upright bass, and they did these Ray Charles arrangements, which were really gorgeous. And so that was a good 2 full long days of rehearsal, and then a long day of tech, and then the show that night. So it was about a good 3 days for something like that, which I say was probably about a 75-minute show in length, maybe a little bit longer. Okay. So that just goes to show you. But again, there's so many moving parts. There you have a lot of musicians on that stage. Right. I've done some huge corporate events overseas in Indonesia and stuff, and we've rehearsed for 2 weeks. It really depends. And that show, I had literally sang 2 songs. Wow. So my particular part wasn't as big, but it was a big production. So.
Wonderful, wonderful. When did you have any pause at all about singing for a living? Because so many people in the arts, whether you sing, or whether you dance, or you paint, whether you play an instrument, the thing is, how can you make a living doing? Like, did you ever have any pause?
No, that's.
Listen,
so it is way up and down. You have really good years where you're busy and the checks are just, dropping in your mailbox and you can't believe it. And then, the next year you're like, can I pay you to listen to me? So it's a roller coaster. But I will say, being in the New York City area really is wonderful for artists. There's a lot to do. And I think that's where I've been fortunate. I mean, sometimes I have questions, am I jack of all trades and master of none? Yes. But in New York, you can do theater, you can do nightclubs, you can do recordings. When I started out, at 19, when I really, really started working consistently, I was in a wedding band, and I was doing 5 gigs a week, playing weddings. And people sort of laugh at, there's like a stigma that goes with being wedding singers and all that stuff. And I would always say, hush your mouth. 1, that paid for my college.
Wow.
2, there's no place you can go, especially on the East Coast, where you can do 4 hours, a 4-hour hit, and sing every kind of music known to man. I was singing horrors, polkas, country music, disco. I mean, you just run the gamut at a wedding, know? And you really do build your chops.
Yes.
So between that and at 19, 20, I also got into the jingle world where I was singing commercials. And so New York is a real mecca for just artists, singers, where there's a lot to do. So if you're dedicated and you're persistent, you can stay busy and you can make a decent living. You may not be a millionaire, but maybe you'll write that one hit song and you will be a millionaire. So
absolutely.
You don't know. There's a lot of opportunity.
Absolutely. Awesome. That's phenomenal. So someone who wants to get into the background vocal business, what would be the core or the one thing that you would want them to know before they even take a step? What would you share with them? Listen, this is the one thing that before you belt one note, you need to know this. What would you share with them?
Oh, I know exactly what I'm going to tell you. Listen. Before you open your mouth, listen. Listen to what it is that the artist wants. Hear what they're telling you. Listen to the volume of the band. Listen to your fellow singers and blend with them. Don't be so quick to prove. If you've been hired already, then they know you can do the job. So now show them how well you can do the job.
Wow.
And most singers just open their mouths and they haven't listened. It's sort of one of the funny things that I go through with my students who are really just super green and have never sung and they're trying to understand it. And when I sit down with them, they're so busy trying to sing for me. And I said, wait. Before you do that, just listen to the scale I'm playing. Just listen.
Wow.
And this is what I want you to do. And as soon as I can get them to sort of chill and like listen, all of a sudden they sound amazing. And I think they amaze themselves. They're like, wow, I thought I was a horrible singer. I said, no, you were just a horrible listener.
Wow.
And now you listen again.
Right. Exactly. Oh my goodness. That's powerful advice. I mean, it's understanding what the artist wants and being able to give them that. And that's wonderful advice. I want to ask you talked about your grandmother, and everyone needs a support system along their journey. What has kept you? How do you maintain in those moments where everything may not have been going the way you thought they were going, or those years that the checks didn't just come in the mail? Who or how did you keep yourself uplifted and encouraged?
Well, I got to be honest. I mean, I've been so blessed and fortunate to have such a strong family unit.
Wonderful.
Both my immediate family, my extended family, my husband's family, my in-laws, and then my musical family. You know, I'm not short of love and support. And I know that's a gift because not everybody has that.
Right.
And so all I can tell you is if you don't have that in your life, there is a community out there for you. Maybe it's another, a vocal community. Maybe it's a church. Right. But there are people who are kind and loving and supportive, and find your way to that space, because this is a tough business, and you do need that. You need to be able to just fall back and say, oh, and cry your eyes out, or complain and vent and get it all out, and then wake up the next morning and hit the ground running again. So I'd like to believe, I feel very spiritually centered in my life.
Wonderful.
If I'm being honest, I'm not super religious.
Right.
But I feel a connection to a higher power always. And I just feel like there's always this bubble of love around me. I really do. So.
Wonderful. Well, we're so proud of you. We're so proud of you and all that you've done. And now, is there an artist that you have not worked with that you would love to work with?
Let's see. There are a couple of artists who stand out to me just because I really admire their work. I think Sting is an amazing artist.
Wow. Okay.
And just his transition from the Police to his solo career, his lyrics. I would love to just check that box. I'm trying to think who else. I've been so lucky, man. I got to work with Charlie Wilson, who's just ridiculous. Wow. He's so good. He puts these young boys to shame. I'm sorry. And he's still up there at the Grammys, 2 weeks ago, killing it.
Right.
I've worked with B.B. Winans, and it's just beautiful singers, writers. There's just not a lot of people. Wow. I never got to work with Whitney, but I got to meet her because I was a fill-in for her once at an anthem for the New Jersey Nets, in case she wasn't able to make it, but she made it, so I got to meet her. I didn't get to work with her, but I got to meet Aretha. I didn't back Aretha up. So, but I don't know, man. I've checked a lot of buckets. And again, it's so funny. I've checked a lot of boxes, I should say.
Yes.
And they all, a lot of them were just one-offs. It was just one time around. Some were a little, a couple times. But there's not a lot I can think of. I'll get back to you on that one.
That's okay. That's fine. That is fine. Now, I want to, now don't say any names.
Okay.
But I want to ask you, were there people that you had this view of, this interpretation of who they were from what you saw, but then you got into the room and you got kind of like a different vibe? Like, 'cause sometimes we think that all people we see on television or on the radio we hear, like we all think that so nice, like everybody's giving, so nice. But have you ever had an experience where you met someone for the first time, but like, okay, I didn't know they were, like a little bit different than what you had expected?
Okay, so I'm not going to give any names.
No names.
I've only had one experience like that.
Okay. Okay.
But generally speaking, I've had the opposite experience in my life. I've been warned about, this talent's a little difficult, so be prepared. Right. And I've just found them to be the most charming and kind and giving people. Now, I will say sometimes, things go. I don't really look for trouble. Right. So sometimes when it's around me, I'm just oblivious to it. Right. And I've been told that I've missed a couple of cues here or there. Okay. But I have found that most people, if you just sort of hit them on a very human level and you're just kind to them, they're going to be kind to you. Right. Yeah, and I think also you have to understand a lot of people in this industry, well, there are a couple of layers here. One, a lot of people who find themselves in the arts, it's an escape for them. They're probably trying to get away from something that's pretty tough in their life. And so even if they treat you a certain way, it really has nothing to do with you. It has more to do with what they're dealing with behind the scenes that you have no idea. Right. So you got to sort of separate yourself from that and understand if they just met you, how could they be mad at you? They don't know you, just sort of turn away and sort of not make it personal. Right. But what I will also say is this business can sort of put you in a place where you get really disconnected from everyday people. You're coddled, you're spoiled, and believe me, I've had a taste of it, and I'm nowhere close to like the big stars, but I've had the opportunity to fly in private jets and do shows, in the south of France, and just showered, and I was a quote unquote nobody. So I can only imagine if you are the star, what that can do to you, So I think in general, not just with celebrities, I think we have to find a way to be more empathetic in this world. I think we're lacking that a lot. And we sort of just, everything's about us and how we feel and how we see things and not stopping to say, well, I wonder, maybe they're going through this because of something, and just trying to be a little more compassionate and empathetic. So that's how I sort of see it.
Awesome. And I think you kind of said a little bit, but I wanted, if you can go a little, like, how did you stay grounded? Because I've seen like a number of people go into the entertainment world, and it seems like it consumes them. And we can look at so many artists, name by name, who's, they've given up their gift, but it seemed like they got lost themselves. Yeah. How did you stay grounded, and what would you say to encourage someone to be able to maintain that? Because it seems like you said, private jets, people are catering to you, this and that, like whatever you want, and because of your gift. But you seem to get lost, or that person. How did you stay grounded, and how do you think other artists can do better at doing that?
Well, personally, I don't take myself too seriously. I can laugh at myself more than anybody could ever laugh at me. So it you can't out joke me. I will pick on myself, and I don't even mean in a bad way. But right. To me, I always tell, when my students come here, I say to them, look, we're going to take this seriously. We're going to help you grow. We're going to help you be better. But look, at the end of the day, we are not running into burning buildings. We are not performing open heart surgery. Right. We are singing songs. So let's be real. And that's what I tell them. Right. Like, let's be real. It's not that it's not important and important to you, but it never gets lost on me that there are people out there, military, first responders who are like in life-threatening situations. I'm going on stage with a microphone. Really? Like, come on now. It's at the end of the day. I'm just having fun, really. And I get paid a little money to have a lot of fun.
Wonderful.
So,
wonderful.
So I think just that mindset is what grounds me. But again, I can't, it just goes without saying. I just have a network of people who, again, pick on me too. My brother picks on my parents. They just, they don't let me. If I keep it,
They keep it grounded.
They will knock me down quickly. Keep it super real. So
wonderful.
My kids too. My husband, like, we just, we keep it real. So
awesome.
I think that my suggestion to other people, if their desire is to stay grounded, is really remember what this is. Wow. It's important, and we're sharing art, and it's beautiful, and we are communicating with a language that really is universal. Music, singing is universal. And I don't care if you're singing in the language that, to an audience that doesn't speak your first language, they still feel you.
Wow.
And it is singing.
Powerful. Powerful. So I want to ask you, do you have any next dreams? All of our guests that are on our show, like, is there something that you have not done yet, but you still have that goal of aspiring to do?
Yes.
And?
I really would love to leave this earth having written one big hit. I've written really good songs, and they've been placed in TV shows and movies, and I'm fortunate because I know that's not even the norm, with a lot of songwriters. But I think I'm capable.
Yes, you are.
Of writing a big hit.
You are.
And so I want to do that.
I'm telling you.
And I think more of that's my discipline than it is talent. Yes. I think I just got to stay on it, stay persistent, and, keep knocking down doors, which, listen, I can be lazy too sometimes.
Well, listen.
Watch a movie, but I need to put the time in. And whatever you do, you need to put the time in.
Yes, absolutely. So I want to ask you, have you ever auditioned for the show, I think it's called Songland?
I have not. And it's so funny. One of my co-writer, who I write a lot of music with, his name is Robert Hunter. We sort of keep going back and forth about maybe we should do that. That's a great concept, and yes. I'm glad it's out there. And maybe that's the next thing maybe I should do.
Listen, I'm telling you right now, I'm rooting for you to audition for that show. Because not only do you write, but you can sing phenomenally. Now, are you able to, because I don't want no copyright problems, are you able to sing, are you able to sing something for us that won't be a problem, like on it, what I'm saying?
Okay, let me see.
Because I would love to hear you.
I would have been prepared for that.
I've heard you sing, but I wonder for like, even if it's just one line of something. I mean, I don't want to get you in trouble or nothing, with nobody. So.
All right. Well, since it's Black History Month.
Okay.
I'll do a little piece of, and I have not warmed up, Troy. If this is a hot mess, I'm going to come find you.
I know it's on the fly. Listen, but I know it's going to be great.
Okay, so I'll do a little bit of Lift Every Voice and Sing, considering it's Black History Month, and I would love to represent that. Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring with the harmony of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea.
Y'all better give it up. I call it. Woo!
Any copyright issues with that? I think that song
listen, y'all. That is without her warming up, without her getting preparation, without her knowing. I was going to ask her to sing. Phenomenal.
No, see, that's crazy. I really should have known that was coming, and for some reason, I think that was wishful thinking. I should have at least had a glass of water.
well, I would be remiss if I had not asked you to sing a little something given your vast experience and your awesomeness and amazingness. So I thank you so much. We so appreciate you. What is one thing that most people would not know about you that you're able to share with us about who you are?
Okay. Well, I will share something that's actually interesting. I have a very unique vision condition called retinitis pigmentosa. It's like a really rare kind of defect of the retina.
Okay.
And I was sort of, they saw signs of it about in my 20s, but I was diagnosed with it officially about 15 years ago. So I'm going to let you do the math on that. I didn't say what. However, and so what's been interesting about that is how it has forced me to get stronger in other areas, be more reliant on my memory for musical endeavors. And also, it's forced me to be like a little more humble and a little more, what's the word I'm looking for? Just embrace people's kindness more. I think in this business, and even in general, sometimes you sort of you want to be so independent all the time. You don't want to have to count on anybody.
Right.
And when I was diagnosed with this condition, I had to stop driving, and reading became very difficult, and just general visual acuity. And I just had to rely on more people and sort of let go of my independence a little bit.
Right.
So, but what I will say is it allowed me to see the kindness of people more, even though it was there all the way. But everybody's just wonderful, and I'm telling you, people they are offering to pick me up and ride, and I'm just surrounded by like such goodness. And so I let people know that because we all have something that's a challenge. I have a great life, but I got my challenges, and I think it's sort of back to that empathy, thing we were talking about, just understanding that what people are going through probably has nothing to do with you. And so I sort of, just flow through life that way.
Right.
And I sort of allow this challenge of mine to let me to connect to other people and to share that, hey, it ain't easy all the time for me too, but I figure it out, and you can figure it out too.
Absolutely. Well, that's wonderful. We're so proud of you, all that you've gone through, your journey, all that you've experienced, and sharing it with the world. So I thank you. Listen, want to ask you, how can people follow you? Like, are you on social media? Are you on Facebook, Instagram? You have a website? Where can people find you?
I am. My website is LaJuanCarter.com, LaJuanCarter.com. I am the worst with social media. That is my goal in 2020 to get better. I do have an Instagram. It's singer to singer, and the number 2 singer, the number 2 singer. And I am on Twitter, and I'm on Facebook under LaJuan Carter -Dent. But I also have a singer to singer Facebook page, so you can follow me there. But now that everybody's there, you guys are going to force me to be better about it. So this is a good thing.
Awesome. And so you're doing vocal. So if anybody wants a vocal coach, they can just reach out to you?
Absolutely. You can hit me up on my website, and if you Google LaJuan Carter, I'm in Edison, New Jersey. So if you need a vocal coach, I'd love to. And believe me, I take all ages, all skill sets, all years of experience. It doesn't matter, because we dig a little bit deeper than vocals. We work on confidence, and we work on just, finding joy through music.
Awesome. And listen, y'all, she was the vocal coach for my mama. She is the vocal coach for my mother. I'm telling you. Listen, shout out to my mom, Helen Alexander. Love you, Mom. So proud of her. And her debut of her solo. I'm telling you, it was amazing. And she sang again. It was amazing again. So thank you so much for imparting your wisdom, your knowledge, your artistry into my mother, and she's loving it. So thank you so much. And you are truly, truly amazing. Any last shout outs that you want to give before we get ready to close our show?
Hey, just thank you to you for, opening up this conversation. I know you get to talk to a lot of different people.
Yes.
It was just a pleasure, chatting with you. And thank you for being a supportive son and a supportive, bright light in the community and promoting positivity. I love it.
Thank you so much. Listen, y'all, this is Mrs. LaJuan Carter. Let's give it up for her right now. I'm telling you. Listen, you need a vocal coach. Make sure you contact her. Anything, just advice, contact her. I'm sure she will be willing to share with you. Thank you for sharing your spirit. Thank you for sharing your artistry. Thank you for sharing you. We thank you. We applaud you. And we are so proud of you. And guess what? I cannot wait for that big hit that's coming, because it is coming. And I'm telling you right now, Songland or whatever, I'm believing.
Put it out there. Put it out there.
I'm a believer in you. I'm a fan of you. And guess what? I want to make sure I get your autographs too next time I see you. But
hey,
yes.
Listen, I'll be back to talk about the hit song when it happens. So.
Yes, it's coming, y'all. The hit song. I know that songwriter. So listen, thank you so much. We appreciate you. Thank you to all of our listeners, all that follow us on Facebook, on Hamilton Radio. Download the app, Hamilton Radio 3.0. Listen on Channel 2. You can call into the show, listen that way as well. And you know where we are, Facebook Live every Thursday night, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on Hamilton Radio. This is Troy Alexander. Inspiration with Troy Alexander. We're here. And you know my motto, dream, take that step, and walk with purpose into your destiny. Thank you so much. Have a great night. I'll see you next Thursday.